Oh. Boys and girls, bros and hoes, good to see you guys. We're live. I switched laptops. My last one, not working so well. Not working well on Zoom. Not working well on Livestream. This is like my first or second live stream on YouTube. I haven't done this in a long time. Hopefully sound is good. Want to see that sound is good. Ryan the Entrepreneur, hello. Hello. Tell me that sound is good, brother. Tell me sound is good. Sound good? Yes. Looks like we're good. All right. So it's January 6th, 2021. Much better. Good. Yeah, I switched laptops, man. This one is junk. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it's junk. If you guys noticed, I got off of Instagram for the moment until the terms of service change because they suck. If you guys look at the terms of service for Instagram, it basically says, you're their bitch. And I'm like, nah, I'm not your bitch. I might make you my bitch. Not about that. Nonetheless, I want to communicate with you guys. It's been killing me all week. Like, I can't communicate with my people. Haven't been on YouTube in a long time. So if you guys only follow on the YouTube channel and you don't follow on the Instagram, well, just stay here on YouTube because this is where I'm going to be. I have to be careful about what we say here because, you know, it's YouTube and they don't support free speech. So, you know, we have to be chill about what we say. We're going to speak in code. It's going to be a lot like 1776. I know that's backwards. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's backwards for me and not backwards for you. I don't know. I'm new to this whole live streaming thing. Nonetheless, they stormed the Capitol building today. No shots fired until they killed a woman, which is probably our government shooting against a citizen. We don't know at this point in time, but we're pretty confident. I mean, let's be real. It's government. So they probably did shoot against a citizen, in which case all hell is about to break loose. And that is something you should be prepared for and something you should be thinking about. The other thing you should be thinking about is, do we need to continue this fiat system, right? This fake system, fiat meaning fake. Do we need to continue this fake media, this fake money, this fake economy, this fake propping things up? Or can we get back to being real and provide real goods and services to individuals for your own selfish purposes, right? For your own selfish needs to then help somebody else, right? The way that capitalism is set up is that to move up in capitalism, right? To get more for yourself, you must first serve somebody else. That's it. Like, it's as simple as that. Unfortunately, we live in a time period where we have a, quote, capitalist president who's really a socialist, who built his entire net worth on government subsidies. I mean, more or less, right? In skirting the tax law and all those other things, which I support in many ways. I don't support the government subsidies because I don't support being in bed with government. But nonetheless, for you guys, for you, for me, for the peasants, what happens next? Where do we go from here? I have to be careful on how I say this because I don't want to alarm anybody. But in the simplest terms, you need to become independent. You need to become like what they call anti-fragile. You need to become more resilient. And you need to definitely become less dependent on the system and others, period. And I know when I say this out loud, it sounds like I'm a prepper. And I don't like the way that sounds. But nonetheless, it's the reality. Every 80 to 90 years, America, since the 1500s, has gone into a war. Every single time we have done that, the body count has been higher. Today, the body count is 1. It was a female. We knew it was going to happen. My buddy and I have been texting back and forth all day. A couple days ago, we're shorting the Dow, we're shorting the S&P, we're shorting a couple things, we're doing some financial moves, we're buying cryptos, we're doing different things. And so we're in contact all the time. And he's like, dude, they're going to storm the Capitol building. They're going to get inside the Capitol building, and I'm going to short. And I was like, dude, let's go options. Let's go whatever. Nonetheless, they stormed the Capitol building, and the Dow went up 400 and something points to an all-time high. We're at a point in history where the markets and the people and the government and everything involved and the institutions are just completely irrational, like completely irrational. And there is no free speech. There's no free speech at scale. Let's put it that way. There is no having your own opinion or questioning authority. We've moved into a police state. We live through a time period where people flew planes. A quote, they learned how to fly on 172s, and somehow they could take a Cessna 172 training and translate that into twin engine jets and find and locate twin towers, and then proceed to ram into the twin towers and detonate them all the way down to the ground. That was the first thing that happened at this turning period of time that we're in. We went to war for it. We lost a lot more people in those, quote, wars over oil than we did in the towers and the planes, and we lost our freedoms. We can no longer go on an airplane, public airplane, and they are public at this point in time. They are not private companies. They are public, socialist, quote, communist airlines. You can no longer go on them without spreading your arms, spreading your legs, letting them pat you down and say, sir, I'm sorry, are you carrying this much shampoo? Yeah, you can't do that. I'm like, well, dude, I got hair. I mean, look at it. I need shampoo. You know what I'm saying? Well, you got to bring this much shampoo. So we've moved to a point where you need to be in the wealthy class so that you don't have to go through the public airlines, because it's like riding the bus. But we're at a spot where we don't allow people to fail. And so therefore, we're going to prop these airlines up. We're going to continue to pay the pilots. We're going to continue to pay the staff. They're going to sit at home. The airlines are going to be sat in a boneyard, and they're just going to erode. They're just going to erode. And we're going to print fake money. And that fake money is going to find its way into the system, and people are going to like it, and they're going to vote for it, and we're going to root ourselves in. And so what we've done is we've taken a country that started out by basically just by trying to live off the land, like quite literally. And then we went into a period where we were ruled by another nation. We said, screw that. The taxes went to 6%. It was outrageous. Taxes went to 6%, and we said, you know what? We're going to have to start killing people. So people dressed up as Native Americans. Some would call them Indians, but others would call them Native Americans because that's where we are in life. And so people dressed up. They went on their boats. They threw the tea overboard, and they said, screw your taxes. And that eventually turned into what we now know as a point in time of 1776, right? That's a famous point in time because people got real about their future. Careful with how I say these things because it is YouTube, and I love this platform. And I do get paid to be on this platform. But people looked down the road and said, eventually I'm going to die, and I'm going to have offspring, and they're going to have offspring. And what do I want that life to be? And we created an American experiment that had never been done before. We created a nation that was for the people, by the people. After we killed a lot of people, after George Washington, who you guys know had wood teeth. But the reality of it is, when you see that thing where like George Washington was crossing the Delaware, and he's like, I'm crossing the Delaware, in like the thing that looks like a seal boat, or what was formerly a Boston whaler, but ultimately it's a seal boat. It's where the hull goes way up. It's badass. You can kind of, anyway, crossing the Delaware basically was, I have a bunch of guys with me. They don't have shoes because that's how poor we are at this point in time. We're walking through the snow. There's a trail of blood miles and miles around. We walk into a building on Christmas Eve, and we kill everybody in that building, period, full stop. Men, women, wives, mistresses, children, whoever in the fuck was in that building got killed. Period. That was it. And we created America because at that point in time, the French came out and they kind of bailed us out. And if you study history, you understand that we were about to lose that war basically because of New York. Basically because of New York. New York could have stopped the war. New York could have won the war. New York basically could have done it all. But no, we had to bail out New York. And so the French came to bail out New York, if you study history. Basically, the British were in New York. They were running it. It's the best port. You want it. If you're military, you know, you got to have New York. And the French came and bailed us out. And then we had our own nation. And at some point, 80 years later, we had this spot in time where we were like, nah, we want the North and the South, right? The North and South. You know it as there was slavery, there was the white people, and there was the black people. It was economics, right? The North was industrial, and the South was agricultural. And there was some beef with that, right? And the South was all Democrats running slaves, and the North was all like, quote, Republicans doing industrial shit. So nonetheless, we had a little beef, and we had this guy, Abraham Lincoln, Patriot water for that. So we had this guy, Abraham Lincoln, and Lincoln's like, we're going to keep this nation together because we're a little bitty nation, right? He's like, yo, we've been doing this for 80 years. We're going to stay together. Why do you need a nation state? You need a nation state to protect you from the nation state next door and the nation state next door to that. The only reason that you have gangsters with guns, which is a nation state, is because there are other gangsters with guns organized next door. That's it. Nonetheless, the colonists were like, hey, so we should have a nation state. But it wasn't a nation state. It was a republic. It was for the people, by the people. And obviously, they wrote a constitution because they knew what human nature would eventually do. There are people who can't do anything productive in life, meaning they can't serve other human beings by serving their own selfish interests. That's capitalism. There are people who can't do that. They can't be selfish, and by being selfish, serve somebody else. So what do? They use guns to steal from other people. And that is it. That is the definition of government. If you believe in government, understand what you believe in is some guy with a seriously high-powered rifle showing up to your house and saying, hey, you're going to pay me my taxes, you're going to give me my money, and you're going to do what the fuck I say. That is what a government is. And if you don't believe me, try not to pay your taxes. And then when they show up, say, no, I'm not going to go with you. And at the end of it, you have to basically determine, do you want your life? And do you want your life at their hands? Or do you want to say, fuck that, I want to make a statement and flip that safety off and say, all right, it's game on. Where we're at in America today on the 6th of January is a couple people got together and more people got together and they said, we're fucking done with this. To which, as a libertarian, anarchical libertarian, I say, and I can't hashtag that, by the way, because it's not supported by big tech. As an anarchical libertarian, I say, why don't we just defund them? Why don't we do the peaceful option? What happens when you defund them? Well, eventually they come for you, but eventually they run out of funds. Because at the end of the day, a thug has to find a way to then create value for other human beings. Well, thugs don't do that. Thugs steal from one person and then they redistribute it to another person, and that person backs them up and gives them power. That's all governments are. We do not need them. We're at a spot in history where we do not need thugs. But what about the nation state next door? Well, if you're in the US, it happens to be Canada. Not a big deal, right? Or it happens to be Mexico. Not a big deal. I mean, I know there's drug cartels down there, but like me and my neighbors, and like all my neighbors out here have like lots of property. Like these got 20 acres, 10 acres, a couple guys got 5 acres. All of these guys, they got these. So I'm not worried about Mexico over across the pond from us. Plus, they got to travel over here. I mean, trust me, we got better tech than them. And I don't think there's any beef to have with Mexico because, like, I want their avocados and they want our cattle and, like, our tomato. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So you get to a spot where you have these rulers and they root themselves in. And by rooting themselves in, the first thing they do, or eventually what they do, is they control the supply of money. And I don't want to call it money, because money is that which can't be printed. Okay, money cannot be printed. This is silver. You cannot print this. It was here when the earth was formed. It makes a little clicky sound, right? So does gold. And so does technological money, which my little daughter gave me. She made a Bitcoin, which is funny and hilarious because you can't really make a bit. I mean, you can make a Bitcoin, but what a Bitcoin is stored energy. It's stored electricity. It's actually quite expensive to make one, and therefore it has value. So you could actually argue that it's hard money. But nonetheless, when you have fake paper money, anybody can make it, and anybody can control it, and they can control your life with it. and they can just, oh, you slave your whole life for our paper. And it's just not good. It's not good at all. And so where we are in America is a select few individuals. We call them Trump supporters. I don't want to say the T word. We'll just say Trav. We don't want to say the T word on this platform, because we have quite literally social liberal Marxists that have made billions and billions of paper dollars, have created a lot of wealth for other individuals, and become multi-billionaires. But they now control free speech, because I don't really have free speech, right? I can say what I want to say, and I can write what I want to write. But at the end of the day, if I say something crazy, the CIA or the FBI is going to show up to my house. To which point, lock and load, put some magazines in there, and oh, by the way, you can only have 30 rounds in that magazine. I'm not saying I have things that are more 30 round or whatnot, but nonetheless, we've moved to that spot in history where if you have to hide your guns, it might be time to use your guns, which is pretty fucking scary. But we have a moment in time where we can literally defund these thugs. And I think it's pretty evident by the fact that they protected the Capitol building this afternoon with, quote, police, which are basically people who couldn't get into any school that they wanted to, who couldn't really make it in any special ops, elite military group, who really just wanted authority over other people, who just wanted to get a government pension, who wanted to get a government job. We have those type of people who have their, quote, handguns, and they're like, oh, we're going to keep you guys out of the Capitol building. You protected the Capitol building with DC police officers. You can't even run the metro in DC, and you're going to protect the Capitol building with DC. Now, obviously, it's probably planned, right? By the T word, right? We probably know this. But nonetheless, we have a bunch of legislators in there who just spent $2.3 trillion of fake fiat money, of your money that you're going to have to put hours of your life into paying back. And some of that's going to Pakistan for gender studies, just because, screw it. Fuck it. Why not? Because we got interest all over the world, because ultimately we're globalists, to which is fine, because I'm an individualist. It's the complete opposite. I totally get being a globalist. Personally, I want to own property in many different countries. I want to diversify my risk from thugs. I want to have independence of my own transportation. I don't want to rely on private airlines. Unfortunately, that means I have to become a wealthy individual. So that's kind of a good thing. I have to go serve a lot of people, or I have to steal from a lot of people. And the question is, long term, will the creators beat the thieves? And if they don't beat the thieves, then in the short term, you have what's called the Dark Ages, which is where it kind of just feeds on itself. There's a lot of wealth in America and in the world in general. We can do this for a long time, hundreds of years. But at the end of the day, when there's nothing, when you show up and you just have nothing, when you're like, hey, we just got off the boat, we're out of food. Where's the water at? I don't know. Drink that. What's this berry about? I don't know. Have that guy drink. Oh, he died. Oh, shit. Don't eat those type of berries. FYI, don't eat those type of berries. Later in life, you'll figure out, we can boil them, or you learn. As people get together and they start creating, you learn. And you start to build. And at the beginning of it, you're extremely poor. One guy fishes, and one guy makes shirts, and one guy builds houses. There's 3 dudes, and that's all there is. And he's got to make all his own wood. He's got to do, everything sucks. And as you get a network effect, it gets better and better and better. And as you get a super network effect, it's called Metcalfe's Law, which is why Facebook, YouTube, I don't want to even say that. We need code words. You guys need to hit me up, Trav at Onsite Trav, in the emails, and be like, yo, what are our code words? We need code words. I'm also going to run that email on my own server, because I don't trust these thugs. Nonetheless, we get to a point where it's easier to steal the abundance than it is to create new abundance. And in America, we happen to be at a spot where we're at a fourth turning. There's basically 4 generations alive at any given point in time. 21 years per generation. Kind of makes sense, right? Couple stragglers make it, that 5th generation guy. But as you have one generation literally die and a new generation be born, what you'll find is that dying generation at a 4th turning, when you get to the 4th turning, was a crisis generation. This would be your World War II vets. Before that, that would have been your Civil War vets. Before that, that would have been your Revolutionary War vets. And unfortunately, You soft-ass millennials are what we got. I'm looking forward to it, gentlemen. This is called an AK-47. I believe in it. It's Mother Russia. I like a lot of things Russia these days. I like Russian women. I like Russian economy. I really do. I like the fact that Russia is stacking more gold than any other country in the nation or in the world. I also like the fact that a couple cryptocurrencies I like actually are coming out of Russia, Russian immigrants. They ran to America. And I like the fact that since 1947, this thing's been working, and it works really well. And I hope that it never comes to that, because this fourth turning could be different. It could be different. But the reality of it is that we have, and I see in the comments, we have a rising power, that is China, challenging an existing power, that is the US. And it's pretty evident to you guys on the 6th of January, 2021, that China has already purchased, bought and paid for, and is owed interest on America. Mainly our politicians, mainly our political elite, mainly our technology, but they've also served us in many ways. They've provided these devices for us, right? They've built these. They've dealt with the smog. They've allowed their culture to build for our needs, and we've exported to them paper, and we've given them nothing in return. And so at the end of the day here, we're going to have to basically do a couple things. One, default on our debt to China and say, fuck you, we have all the guns, but they have all the factories. They have all the production. But it's really not us and them. It's not the American people and the Chinese people that have a problem with each other. I have no problem with the Chinese guy. I got mad respect for China. Mad respect. Do I like their Communist Party? Fuck no. Do I like my political elite? Fuck no. So the problem is that as we've approached this fourth turning, we've reached a spot where we quite literally need to sacrifice one of ours for one of theirs. And the people need to become free. I'm optimistic that that will happen. I will quite literally fight for that. I won't fight for anything else. I won't fight for right versus left, because the right is corrupt as the left. The right is absolutely ridiculous. They're socialists. The left is communist. I'm a libertarian. I believe in free markets and free people. That means free people making up their own damn minds about what they want to do, using their own hard money, things that cannot be printed, exchanging goods and services and ideas amongst themselves without any sort of government overlords. Period. Unfortunately, throughout most of human history, it's always been my king versus your king, and I'll die and fight for you, and you'll die and fight for me, and we serve the king. And now it's the same thing. It's the exact same damn thing. And so I appreciate you guys being here tonight. I want you to think about these ideas. The most important thing I could tell you guys is get out of the system. GOTS. Get out of the system. Period. Figure out how that is. Start with water. Seriously. Be like, yo, how can I get my own water? It's a big deal. How can you get your own food? That's a big deal. If you've got your own food and your own water, you don't have to abide by anybody else's rules. You might be poor. You may not be allowed to ride on government airlines, and they did buy them. We're $50 billion in the airlines right now. I think we might be 2 times 50. Either way, every quarter, the airlines need like a certain amount of cash. I know the last quarter they needed 50 to park planes. By the way, what do you think what happens when those planes finally, like that last plane they parked, finally actually flies on way old technology that's been sitting for 10 or 15 years? You think it's going to be good? It's going to be like riding the DC Metro. But nonetheless, we can't allow wealthy individuals that own shares in, quote, Delta or anyone else like that to like lose money. So we have to continue to prop them up. We can't allow a guy like me to go in there and be like, oh, 747 for $550,000 with 1,000 hours on it? Hell yeah. Let me call my dad up. Let me call my friends up. Let me call my mom. Let me call everybody up. Guys, I'm raising money, right? We can't do that, right? We can't move forward and say, okay, oh, we're spreading viruses on planes. And okay, we can't do that because we won't allow the values of those assets to continue to come down. So we're going to distort the market. And instead of allowing the market to clear, we're going to just push it forward until an inevitable collapse, which is extremely sad. But the reality is the train has left the station. It is a one-way ride to an inevitable financial collapse, at which point in time, we can finally get back to creating actual real value for other human beings and goods and services. But until that, we have to go around with this shit show of just like he said, she said, left versus right versus get rid of them all. At the end of the day, I want to offer my goods and services in exchange for your goods and services. I want to serve you, and I don't want these government thugs to be around whatsoever. Period. So the best thing you can do in 21 is literally make moves to get out of the system. As basic as stacking up food, figuring out how to have your own water supply, figure out how to be in control of your own economics. You can have your own business, you can have a side hustle, you can create value for somebody else. And then if you do that well, and you happen to be successful with that, start to think about, where do you want to store, hold your wealth? It's probably best to do what we've done for 5,000 years and keep it in metals. Keep it in things like possibly speculations like Bitcoin, things that are crypto, things that the government can't control. Because the best way out of the situation is quite literally defunding them. Quite literally defunding them. Now, at which point they'll probably get violent, but they will basically just continue to print their own currency until it's worth absolutely nothing. And in the best case scenario, the American people and the Chinese people will finally be able to just trade goods and services without their government overlords. That's my wish. That's what I hope to see. The reality of it is, if I had hoped that for every fourth turning from here to the 1500s as an American in America, I'd have been wrong. Because every single time ended up in a revolutionary war, which kind of was necessary because they just were being dicks. The Civil War, which is why if the states want to secede, why wouldn't you let them secede? Well, of course not. You need to build a nation state. Why do you need a nation state? Because World War I. Because World War I, it's good to have a nation state. Have your ag land and your industrials working well for World War I, right? Well, what do you do after World War I? Well, you let everyone know how big your dick is. And so you impoverish the German people. So what do? They hyperinflate their currency. They just print it. What happens? Adolf Hitler. Everyone goes, oh, Adolf Hitler. Same shit's happening in America right now. Oh, Trump, save us. It's not the answer. But eventually you get a World War II, which you kind of have to enter because you got nation states versus nation states. Lots of millions and millions of people die. And then after that, you actually have good times, right? You get good times, you have peace. And then you end up with with the U.S., who was the globe's world currency. I know it's too much for one video. Was the world's global reserve currency, backed by gold, who in 1971 basically said, yeah, so we can't do that. We're going to just print fake paper. To which the rich got richer because they understand how that game works. You want to own real assets denominated in fake paper. And the poor got poorer because they don't know how the game works, but their money should be like deflate, like my money should be constant or increasing in value always. And technology should always be deflationary because it is. So we should live in a society where if a gentleman was making $5 an hour working for Henry Ford, or $5 a day, excuse me. If a gentleman was making $5 a day and gold was $20. So every Thursday he was making an ounce of gold. But today gold is $2,000 an ounce. So to have the same economics, you'd have to be making $500 a day. And that's unskilled labor, not skilled. They've inflated the currency 100x based on gold. But gold, to my knowledge, is suppressed. I believe gold at this current point in time is actually $12,000 an ounce. I think it's extremely mispriced. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for you that buy silver and gold. Possibly Bitcoin, because I think it's a huge speculation. It solves a lot of problems with that gold and silver doesn't, if you have a lot of gold, you got a lot of problems. Unfortunately, a lot of people have gold. You need a lot of these because people can come and take it. They kill you and take it. But if they come and kill you, they can't take your Bitcoin or your crypto. And that matters. But nonetheless, we've gotten to that spot where it's evident, where it's obvious, where it's no longer a conspiracy theory, where you see it before your eyes. You saw for the first time ever today a Confederate flag flying in the U.S. Capitol building, and only one person was killed. And that was our government, more likely. We don't know yet because it just happened a couple hours ago, versus some sort of citizen. We have no idea who she was. But nonetheless, The Confederate flag actually made it all the way to the Capitol building. They actually took the Capitol, which is pretty freaking incredible. And it was super obvious and planned, and my buddy and I have been texting about it for 3 days, which is also why Instagram is not on my phone anymore. Because when you just know what the hell is going to happen, you don't want to be, quote, a terrorist by saying, oh, shit, you knew that. We literally have been talking about, like, they're going to storm the Capitol, obviously. And now the only question is, are they going to leave the Capitol? And I hope to God that they don't. And I hope to God that there are other guys who are okay going there and don't have a lot to risk or a lot to lose who will back them up outside the Capitol building. It's quite literally a military operation. This country was created for the people, by the people, and the political elites have taken it over. It's very imperative that the people take back the country. We don't need a president. We don't need a Congress. We need the people to be free in this country because it matters for the world, because the rest of the world is not. I'm going to read some of your comments, and then I'm going to roll out. Yo, Trav, China owns all our debt. Good, right? Because we can default on it. Fuck China. Good to see you again. There's taking the islands over in South China Sea, right? Of course they are. I mean, they're running the whole thing. Biden will allow it to happen. 556. I disagree. Okay, 556 on the distance. 762 by 39 on the trench war. These babies will take you 300 yards out, and they're reliable. And they're Russian. I really like things that are Russian right now. Really like things that are Russian. Zcash, cryptocurrency, Russian, copy off of Bitcoin, except it's super private. Like it, right? So, but yeah, either way, 556 or 762. Hope to God we don't have to use it, but you need to have it. China's broke as fuck. Yeah, exactly. See, amen. That's good. Yup, two wings from the same bird. My house should stay assembled in the U.S., not made here. Hard to find products these days that's truly American. That's true, because what we did is we exported currency and we imported everyone else's goods and services. It was the biggest Ponzi scam in the history of the world. It's actually incredible. It's called being the world's reserve currency. That was what we got for winning World War II. We won. Everybody else either helped us win or they lost, and therefore we made the rules, and we backed up the currency on gold, and it was better than owning gold. Why would you want to own silver or gold if it makes no yields? Makes literally nothing, no interest on this every month. But if you were to own a $20 American bill back in before 1913, or 1933, really. But like if you were to own a $20 American bill, well, you would have gotten interest on that bill. So it was like as owning gold, because on it said redeemable for an ounce of gold, but you got interest on it. So of course it was the best thing going. But unfortunately, like, you know, the political elite stole it. Like, period. Like, we as a country didn't produce more than we consumed. And eventually, just like in household, that's going to come back to bite us. And long term, if you're sitting in America, like, your taxes are going up for sure, and you will eventually produce a lot more than you consume because you've been living so long on consuming more than you produce as a nation, as a society. And that just is what it is. Thing like ammo, unfortunately, and we call them freedom seeds, although I think you should invest in actual real seeds first, because we are going into a depression. Make no mistake about it. We're going into a depression by definition, which means suppressed growth, which means we will have less growth than we are otherwise capable of for a long period of time. That could be 5 years, 10 years, it could be 20. Last time it was 20. So you need to be figuring that out. We're in a long-term debt cycle. We're at the end of it. Never trusted it. Some guy from the internet more than you. Appreciate that, bro. Anyway, try not to get blocked from the internet. Trying to have people watch this stuff. I appreciate 31 people being in the room right now. We're going to close this under 34 minutes. I suggest you guys buy or pay for YouTube, so you can listen to this stuff in your headphones while you guys are out working or doing your thing or jogging or working out. And that's a great year to be doing this. Like, you should be getting stout. All right, this is a good year to drop some weight. Let's put it that way. This is a good year to freaking grow some food. This is a good year to learn how to clean a deer. This is a good year to help your neighbor. All right, this is a good year to go back to being human and help other people for your own selfish needs, because that is the definition of capitalism. That's what got us out of the last depression, and that's what will get us out of this depression. Unfortunately, people in this country at this point in time of filming want free, quote, money. I correct them. It's called currency. Money is that which you cannot print. You have to earn money. You have to go get money. currency you can just make out of thin air. It's bullshit. People believe in it because they don't know any better. So anyway, you guys have a good night. Have a good year. I'll be on this platform a lot. And when I finish this course for you guys in the equipment industry, because it's getting thick, double printed, like it's getting thick. I mean, the script for this thing is thick. I'm putting all my intellectual efforts into everything I know about the machine industry, everything I know, and my friends know, into the machine industry course, all right, which is called the well, you guys will see it. Continue following the channel, and I'll post that up. And nonetheless, we've gone too long, and I appreciate your time, and I hope to have more of your attention in the future. And until then, be safe, get ready, and we'll see how this fourth turning goes. Peace.